I agree with you, and I agree with you, but I also am just going to submit I will choose what makes me more money.
Short term, until there's a backlash.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead, use Papyrus. It's a great font.
I agree.
There'll be no downside.
No, I agree. But they will do it. They will do it.
And I do know that other humans get more and more sophisticated, and so in general, you want to pay attention to the weather. And if it feels real easy, think about what kind of permanent tattoo you're getting.
Advertising is a tax you pay for not being remarkable. Welcome to Todd Liles and the Wizard of Ads, a podcast for business owners who want to become remarkable. Trampoline Todd Liles is going to take you deep into the mind of Roy H. Williams, the Wizard of Ads, to unleash the timeless truths and secret strategies that have helped him build dozens of America's most successful businesses. Do you want to build a brand that wins the heart, captures the mind, and creates lasting relationships? Take a deep breath and buckle up. It's time to fly.
Welcome back, friends. I'm Todd Liles, and this is part 3 of 4 with magician and creator Brian Brushwood alongside my friend Roy H. Williams. This one took a turn because what started as a talk about attention and generosity became a deep dive into artificial intelligence, creativity, and the human heart behind every story. Look, we talk about how new tools can amplify talent or replace it, and what happens when machines start to imitate imagination, and why empathy and emotion will always belong to people. It's smart, it's funny, and it's a little unsettling, but it might just remind you of why being human still matters most. So let's see what Brian and Roy have to say about artificial intelligence and its future in creative advertisement. Are you a fan of Alex Ramos's work?
I'm familiar, yeah.
Do you know about his last book launch?
Mm-mm.
So I'll tell Roy. Alex Ramosi, you've heard Alex's name before. You don't recall, but you will.
Right.
Ryan Dice is a good friend with him.
Okay.
Like Ryan really likes Alex Ramosi. He used to live in Austin. They run some of the same circles.
Okay.
For the record, everybody likes Alex Harnosi, as best I could tell.
Yeah, he's just a really nice guy.
I probably never knew his last name.
He's a very young guy. He always wears a tank top. He's super muscular. He's got this huge beard. Very anti-brand look. He did that on purpose. He grew the beard and the mustache because he said no one looks like me in the world of digital advertising. So in his early days, everything he's writing about is all call to action. He wrote $100 million leads. It's all call to action stuff. And then about 2 years ago, he switched to constant daily content. He does daily content, probably 10 to 20 videos a day, shorts. But he also does 2 to 3 really long videos, 30, 45 minutes. And when you watch him, you go, A, he's really smart. B, he's put a lot of money and effort into these videos. It's really good. And he's attracted really ultra small guys, and now he's starting to attract really big guys. Now he is saying to people, you can't just be doing direct call to action once you get over $1 million. You've ran your course. Now it's time to start branding. So he's saying things that we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the point I want to make. The point I want to make is that for the last 2 years, he's been just giving. And all of it's on YouTube. He doesn't charge for any of it. He wrote out his $100 million, I think it's, $100 million acquisitions or something like that. It's his $100 million playbook. He rolled this out and he talks about, he used the word harvest. It's time to harvest this attention I've been gathering. He sold $100 million in 24 hours.
Wow.
In books, because he wasn't just selling books. It was $7,000. You buy one of my books, but you're going to buy 6 other people books, and you're all going to get access to my training courses. And he did it the right way. So he took 2 years of storytelling and attention, and he made $100 million in a 24-hour period.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like that.
And no one dislikes this guy. Not that I know of. I think he's. Do you know if you might know someone who does?
No,
I think everyone likes him.
Don't. In fact, if I have one beef, it's like, shut up about him, everyone. I've heard about him. He sounds great.
Well, what he said it many times, and you're saying it now, is that he used Kim Kardashian, by the way, as an example. He said he looked up one day and wanted to know what in the world are these people doing? Because their story's not as good as mine. Their skill sets are not as good as mine. He goes, the one thing that they have that I don't have is attention. How do they get attention? Well, he's not going to go make a sex tape. So instead, he's going to put out good content every day. And it's just, it's like your guys with the gun show.
Yeah.
They start gathering attention, they're going to
Instead,
grow.
people are always shocked. I was talking to some people today. They have no idea how many TV ads I write and how many tens and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of television we buy every year. It's like we're known for radio because everybody that does radio sucks. Nobody does good radio except 87 people that I know of in the whole world. They are all partners of mine, okay? You're both one of them. You're both two of them.
I was like, I kind of like
both
that.
one of them. No, you're both
Voltron up.
You're both two of them. So the flip side of the coin is television is all about the script. And I'm telling you, I've been pumping out. I decided 48 hours ago, I'm going to learn to do this because I had some things I needed to create. I didn't have the time to gather the people and stuff. I mean, it was a time deficit. And I said, one of the other partners convinced me that now there's AI that sounds like real people singing, and even musicians can't tell it's AI.
Hmm.
And I'm going, that's new. That's new. And he proved it to me. And I'm going, whoa. Now, the two biggest names I know in radio in America, Eric Rhodes and Roy Loughlin. These guys have been nationally known all over across North America for over 30 years, both of them. And I sent this thing that I did to both of them. Both of them were freaked out. Who did you get to sing that for you? How much did it cost you to produce that? You know, it's just unbelievably well done. And then when I said, honest to God, when you know how to write a great script, when you know how to write in meter, and I've been writing in meter since the 9th grade. So when you know how to write in meter, and you can put together the kinds of lyrics that work, that's all you do when you're an ad writer. So what I've been doing my entire life, I'm going, yeah. So I just started cranking out some real hit songs, and everybody's just crapping, and they're going, oh, crap, how are you doing this? I'm going, wait a minute. Production, I'm not asking it to do creative stuff for me. I'm saying if you have a library of voices that actually use the kinds of stuff computers can't do, and whenever you can figure out how to create voices like that, and when you know how to instruct it to do the music you want. And so I was showing my wife this morning, I said, look, I learned in these prompts, figured it out. Forget pull down menus. It's smart enough that I could say funky jazz, comma, swagger, and get a different, wildly different sound, consistently different than funky jazz, comma, sweetly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I made up sweetly and I made up swagger. But the AI is smart enough to know, I think I know what he means.
Yep.
And then when you sit and you're going, no, hang on a second. I'm getting voices and I'm getting music like would have cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars plus weeks and months of time to do. And I'm cranking this stuff out. And I said, now, right now, nobody realizes. I did full sing ads for like 8 companies this weekend. And all of them just wet their pants. I just sent it to them, a full sing 60-second 30 about their specific business. They're thinking, how in the world did you know? And they're naming famous artists. And I'm going, nope, I don't know them. And I hadn't been working on this for weeks and months. I did this 10 minutes ago. And that window's going to close here pretty soon. But right now,
Let me give you a sample.
time to make magic.
And we'll put in a clean version. I'm just going to give it, I'm going to play you the one I like the most so far, which is actually the first one you sent.
Well, this was my very first effort. This isn't good. This is passable.
I like country music.
All right.
Faster, faster, but I'm losing ground. Red light flashing, nobody's slowing down. The faster I go, the more I fall behind. The map is fading in my mind. Landmarks are not where they
And if you want to hear the whole song, Roy, can I post it?
Sure, of course.
Post it in the show.
Landmarks are not where they were before. Why doesn't why don't people stop at red lights anymore?
Mm.
And so it's all about, superficially, it's about people just not stopping at red lights. But the more he talks, you realize he's actually mourning this or lamenting the forever spiraling tyranny
Right.
of the merely urgent.
Mm.
And we're not taking time to breathe. We're not taking time to live. But the whole metaphor is, why don't we stop at red lights anymore? And then he rants and rages. So this week's memo, I actually did it 4 more times. I said, just to prove the exact same story told with the exact same structure. I wrote 4 different ones. Same exact story, same exact structure. Nothing changes except the perspective and the attitude of the writer, the singer.
Yeah.
And so writing in the voices of 4 different characters, the exact same story to reveal dramatically different personalities. Here's how I feel about this person. 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 But it was all just the lyrics. And so when you can write the lyrics, you can get AI to do the production these days, and it's astounding.
Well, let me add one thought to this too. There's this term that's called slop now.
Yeah.
You know, they were calling
AI slop, yeah.
flankers, but now they're calling the content that comes out slop.
Right.
And Casey Neistat, who's probably one of the best modern storytellers YouTube has, everything he does is just
I do know who that
he's
is.
so
Yeah,
so
I really like
good.
him. Yeah.
Well, his last video he did was on AI slop, and as he told the story of AI slop, you know, he wrote the edits and whatnot, and he would talk about things that would happen, but then he used AI to create those things that he was talking about, as he was saying, were basically things you don't want to have happen.
Right.
So, and he knew what he was doing. He never said it, but you knew what he was doing. He was simultaneously saying AI slop is trash and it's going to ruin creativity, and yet he used AI to make his point very strongly, and you walk away from it going, oh, wait a minute, that was like really good. Like it was actually Casey and his stuff, but he used AI the right way. He made it really good by saying it's trash. And it's you still need a human today. Roy, I don't know what it'll be 100 years from now. But today
well,
you need a human to be that super creative.
let's speak to the customer experience today. Right now,
Right.
there's a tremendous amount of anxiety that all comes from one place. Nobody wants to be the sucker. Nobody wants to be the sucker. We talked about the font Papyrus at one of the recent meetings.
Mm.
In 1982, Chris Costello created Papyrus, a quirky little font that ended up in the default Windows and Mac OS pack. And so in the early aughts, for a brief minute, you had this really cool font that everybody used and everybody felt like a wizard saying, look at me, I don't need to hire a graphic designer. I'm using Papyrus. And then 5 years later, as Papyrus is going on the side of banks, everybody realized, wait, we're now sophisticated enough that we realize this is just a default Windows font. And you put it on the side of a building, you didn't hire anyone, you thought you could get away with it. We're going through a similar worry about that kind of anxiety. The closest comp I can think of is late 80s, early 90s, when sampling culture was blowing up. On the one hand, everybody over the age of 30 agreed that Vanilla Ice's Ice Ice Baby was just a cheap ripoff of Under Pressure, over which he rapped. Therefore, bad, that's a sucker's deal. Meanwhile, though, you had folks like the Dust Brothers, the Beastie Boys, all of these hip-hop artists who were using remixes in phenomenal ways. There's entire albums that are made only of samples from Parliament and Funkadelic songs. But it takes time for everybody to become culturally sensitive to see, as I think of it, the game is, where is the human? So
100%.
when I listened to the song, it couldn't get to the words fast enough because all I cared about was, where's the human? And then finally you started getting to that part. I'm like, there it is. Now, like the opening notes and stuff, all of that is about to get artistically cheap.
Right.
And I think it's important to keep that in mind.
Sure, it is. Now, here's the thing about AI, though, that nobody's thinking about right now, is that nobody's making any money with it.
That's correct. It is a giant a loss leader.
No. Here's what's worse. When you start deep diving, if you look at the money it cost them to build the large language models and to maintain the data farms that it takes and the amount of just raw investment from investors. And then they're saying, okay, there hasn't been any
Well,
the financial payoff, the money generated.
let me give you the flip side of that.
All right.
Maybe OpenAI isn't yet, but they're playing a game that's not too far away from what iPhone did. Because if you look at other things that use it, especially in our industry, like Rilla and other softwares, those people that are using it as a plugin are making money. So
No. What I'm saying is the AI companies themselves.
yeah, I'm with you 100%.
Right.
But their game, the game of software, and a great book to sort of look into this is The Hard Things About Hard Things. Those people are so forward thinking in terms of how long they're willing to lose money and just how deep in debt that they're willing to go, because they're playing for like a long echelon. Like I don't think Amazon
Right. Well, it sounds like you agree with Roy that they're not making money right now.
but they're going to make
But I think Roy had a larger point.
All I was going to say is they're going to make a lot of money down the road. It's going to be immense.
Do you remember the dot-com bubble?
Yes.
The people that went out in the dot-com bubble were not the people that got rich when it came back. So the late adopters became the big winners.
That's correct.
And
All
so-
the failures subsidize the
Exactly.
future
The
success.
early
you're
adopters
saying.
came in there and lost everything.
Mm.
And what I'm saying is, I think there's going to be an AI bubble. I think that all these investors are at risk right now because nobody has been able to monetize AI worth of crap. I mean, it's kind of like they're vastly a long way off from breaking even. Now, wait a minute. Here's the interesting part. Nobody has a business plan to show when this is going to pay off or through what mechanism it's going to pay off. Right now, it has been this vast gift to the world. The world's really excited about it. I'm excited because now I hate AI slop. I was a really late adopter to AI. I just happened to be lucky enough to have a partner, Gene Neftuliv, who proved to me what's capable of being done today. I did the stupid country song. I just wrote the lyrics, and then he popped it out for me, and I sent it to the two people that know AI, and they think they know what can be done with AI, and fooled both of them. And they were both just blown away and going, "My God, that's just amazing!"
I think there's an important word that you stuck in there: fooled.
Yes.
Nobody likes to be fooled.
But here's the thing: when you don't know, you don't know.
Exactly.
And my point being this: whenever it is immediately producible, immediately you can accomplish. Like right now, I didn't think it would be music first. Honestly, didn't. I thought, Coca-Cola has these amazing ads that are AI generated, and Steven Spielberg's been able to do it for years, as long with George Lucas has been able to do it for years. And he was doing it back with Star Wars. He's doing some pretty good stuff. My point being, I said, I want when television production, when you can create visual scenes, we could write the scripts and do the voices, but when you can do visual screens without having to hire the camera crews and go across the world to shoot in China or whatever, and create all those scenes believable that looked 100% real, I'm going to be so excited when you can produce TV ads with AI. I'll never expect AI to write them.
Right. So hold that back up because I want to share something with you. So when I played that song for the kids this weekend, I'm like, "Hey guys, listen to this." Whole family was in the living room,
Right?
And they're like, "Oh, I think Will is going. Is that this person? Is that? I know who that singer is. Who is that?" And they're all having a moment where they're trying to guess the song, and about halfway through, they're sort of bobbing their head, and they're going, "Who is that?" And when I go, "Roy wrote that," my son immediately went, "Is that music AI?"
Right.
And it went from "I'm enjoying this" to
Yeah.
it
Well,
was an instantaneous
Yeah.
and
they loved the song until they knew it wasn't a real human singing it, and
here's
then
the deal.
it instantaneously
But
turned
wait a minute.
off.
Here's the
I'm fine with it
No,
because I know where it was coming
I'm
from.
with you, because I feel the same way. Here's my point. When you're hearing something on the radio, you're not there to tell people.
No, absolutely.
And if there's nobody in the room that doesn't know, or that does in fact know, and I'm saying right now, they used to call it deep fakes.
Mhm.
And I'm saying that now the deep fakes are good enough to even fool people that thought they could pick the deep fakes.
Well, and we're at a moment now where everybody is figuring out that they can be fooled. And this distinction, everybody takes a lot of pride in saying, oh, but I could tell the difference. And then, spoiler alert, whether you can or can't today, you certainly will not be able to 5 years from now.
Well,
it won't matter.
At some number in the years. I'm
You know,
not
the
sure
last
number.
the last Screenwriters Guild strike, the real big one that they had.
Right.
There were many, many things they were going for, and the biggest one was not an increase in money. That's what everybody thinks. I only know this because I have a really good friend that I graduated college with, Qui Gwynn, who wrote Raya and the Last Dragon, and he wrote Strange World and directed it for Disney. Their big push as a Screenwriters Guild was to essentially get AI banned from the world of television and movies, which they won that battle. That was the biggest battle that they were fighting, which was no AI written slop should make it. And everyone said, yeah. And the actors got behind it too. So did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm waiting to hear where this goes.
well, I think I have felt this way for a very long time, is that I'm proud of that guild for stepping up. I felt this way for a very long time, as long as we could think this way. I'm proud of that guild for stepping up. And I think it serves as an example to what other guilds should be doing as well, which is to say, hey, there's a place where we're going to use it as a tool, but a tool. It should enhance, it should make lives better. It's like, I don't think that like what you did was bad. I think it's amazing. I think that if you were wanting to sell that song, that's a great way to serve it up to a music producer and go, here's a couple of sounds that could sound like, do what you want to now, but listen to the words. But where I'm going with this is that I do think that people will either step in the world of AI and draw some hard, fast lines like, hey, we're going to use it like this, we're not going to use it like that. Or a bunch of autocrats, technocrats, pardon me, are going to own something that's really dangerous. I want to get off this because I have very contrarian viewpoints on the stuff, and I use it every day. I love it as a tool. I think for animators, it's an amazing tool, right? But there's a difference between humans guiding it and going, I want you to do this thing for me.
Let me be
versus letting it just-
super specific, and we'll submit this to Brian to see if he agrees or disagrees. Now, forget the 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the next 36 months.
Okay.
The one thing that I'm convinced of, remember, did you know when songs play on the radio, this has been true since 1921 when radio was invented, basically, or radio was popularized in 1921. First radio station, commercial radio station, and within 2 years, there were 22,000 stations across America.
I didn't realize it was only that young.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Symbolic thought. When one thing can be used to mean two other things, and when you're talking about not stopping for red lights and people are actually hearing a whole different message. So AI cannot write brilliant lyrics. I can. Now let's make sure that people understand I can pump crap out all day with AI, and it sounds amazing because the lyrics are awesome, because I've been doing this for 40 years. I've challenged anybody, I said, find any AI. I've challenged people to their face so many times in classrooms and said, give me an example, show me where you can, and I will tell them, now, this is all the information you need. This is the product. This is the story behind the product. Ask me any questions you want about this. And then, get your AI to write a thing. And they would send it in. I give away $1,000. It's a $1,000 prize.
Yeah.
Whoever, I'm going to pick one. There's going to be a winner. Whatever is picked as the best. I'm going to give you $1,000. And did this nationwide, actually internationally. Many, many, many hundreds of subscribe people sent stuff in. It was all just variations of the same crap. And you know who had choose the winner? AI. And I said, all right, so all these AI ads, ask AI, which one of these AI ads is the best? And I gave that guy $1,000. The point is, nobody was able to get from the AI. And I said, now I'm not going to show what I did until you send in your stuff. Because when I show you, I'm going to take this information, reframe it this way, and make this incredibly important. And an AI can't do that. It can't see something that is symbolic and realize the symbolism of that, and then create the metaphor and the relationship.
Well,
so this idea of production is available right now so that great writers, I have no intention of putting songs on the radio. See, remember, what I'm reason I said brought up radio, this will blow your mind. when a song plays on the radio, the band doesn't get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Only the writer gets paid. The band gets paid when you sell records
Mm.
and when you do concerts. But when it plays on the radio, the only person that gets paid is the person that wrote the song. So
Well-
I'll write the songs, use AI to create the demo,
Right.
and then a band can listen to it and go, oh, we want to play that for real. And I'm going, cool. Play it with real instruments and stuff. And I make all the money on the radio. You make money on the records and on touring.
Well, here's my thought when I go back to the Screen Guild thing. AI is sort of in its infancy. It's been a concept for a long time. Alan Turing was thinking of this back before World War II. He just didn't have the technology, but he was thinking about these things. We now have the physical technology between NVIDIA processors, and that's always just only getting better. I do think there will come a time where it will be so smart, it would be challenging to tell a distinction between it. I really do. But more critical than that, I go back to who owns it. And what rules do we put in place now? The screenwriters fought a battle. Hopefully that battle will stand because they see the future too. They're really smart psychologists. It's like Procter & Gamble hires the best psychologist on the planet. There's no reason these AI people won't do the same thing. They're going to study human nature and know it better than most humans. The real question boils down to what we as humanity will allow for this tool to do and who will have control over it. I believe that in my entire soul, that if the world doesn't set these limits, there's going to be real issues. I truly do think that it will become at some point indistinguishable,
Okay.
if not better.
I watched a video just 4 days ago. I could probably find it on my phone. Somebody sent it to me. And it was a guy that proved something. He's a really interesting looking little character. And he said, so in these large language models, he said to plant a bug so that whenever
I saw that.
you use this phrase, and then he says, so how many insertions do you have to do to infect the thing so that worldwide, when people do this, they get this string of just blather that means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this completely non sequitur. This phrase is inserted that makes no sense whatsoever. Do you remember how many it was?
It wasn't me. It was like 3.
It was 250 insertions. So if you write 250 examples of this and feed it in, he said, now, if you're going to do something really nefarious, it would take more than 250. But he did. He says, right now, anybody that types this in, this is what they're going to get using AI. He's just a little prompt that he put in there. He said, this and this. And he just basically made it go together. And so when it found 250 different examples of that in the world, the AI goes, oh, okay, this is always followed by this.
Well-
And it was like, yeah, it only takes 250. You do it 250 times and post it in 250 places, you've infected the AI.
Well, the question we don't know is at what speed will the technology move? It's sort of like when we learned to metalwork. We got really good at making swords to a point, and that technology lasted for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years until we learned to make modern steel. I think the Wright brothers was 1901, and then by the 1970s, we've pretty much been flying almost identically the same 737 we've been flying, and they haven't really dramatically improved upon that because of physics.
Right.
So the thing is, we just don't know. It's like a 5-year-old baby that is already freaky. We don't know what the curve is going to be. And from my standpoint, it's like when you don't know what the curve is going to be and it's already so potentially dangerous, it's like nuclear weapons. We better put some rules on this
Well,
thing.
whenever you're talking about ownership, and I'm saying, okay, so what is the power of ownership? Because if the power of ownership is that you're the one controlling what the AI is going to tell people, okay. Penny and I both in the past couple of weeks have had direct contradictions from AI. You search it, and it tells you this is the answer, and you search it again,
Yeah.
and it tells you a completely different answer. One of those for me was,
But I think that's a 5-year-old problem. I think it's so early in its stage problem.
so let me talk about the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
I actually had a partner that said, raising the flag over Iwo Jima. Can we do a recreation of that in color as a work of our own hands, a recreation of it, put it on the side of a van. And I said, yes, because you're not actually using the copyrighted photo, and the copyright's owned by the Associated Press. And so I had Googled it, and it said, yep, Raising the Flag Over Iwo Jima was photographed by Joe Rosenthal, and he owns the copyright, but he was an employee of the Associated Press, so the Associated Press actually owns the copyright to that photo. And then you ask again, and it says, well, Joe Rosenthal was working for the U.S. Army, therefore the government owns the copyright, which means it's public domain.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wait a minute. First, it tells me Associated Press owns the copyright. And then it tells me that the government was paying Joe Rosenthal as opposed to the Associated Press. No, he was working for the Associated Press. And I know that for a fact. And so then they're saying, no, and because he was working for the government, then the government owns the copyright, which makes it public domain. So yeah, you don't have to worry about it. Well, I wasn't worried about it either way, because we're not using the photograph. You're creating your own work inspired by that, which is always legal. But I said, wait a minute, I got two different answers, 5 minutes apart.
Yeah, but
Same question.
well, what you got was two different positions, two different arguments. So that's a little bit like being, to my ears, surprised when you go into a courtroom and you're like, well, one guy's telling me this guy's guilty, the other guy's telling me he's innocent.
See, does somebody own the copyright isn't a matter of opinion, it is a matter of fact.
Well, no, it's a matter of judgment.
No,
that's why we have courts.
No, it's a matter of law. Copyrights are absolutely registered copyrights. There is a government registry. And I'm saying, so hang on. This is not like, oh, this person says it is copyright. It is or it's not. Registered copyright is a circle R. It's registered with the United States government. And I'm going, so it is a fact. It's a fact-based thing. It's not a subjective thing at all.
So what we're talking about is we're actually talking about some of the fundamental dangers of AI. One is that it can be very inaccurate, but again, it hallucinates like crazy. And I use it all the time. So I'm speaking from, experience here. It hallucinates very badly, but three, what Brian is saying is accurate, not in the sense of is it black and white against the law or not, but in the sense of what he is saying is that this machine has developed to a point where it's making a judgment call in two directions. And if you asked it a question about it, it would give you
all it's doing is reporting what other people say. And
yes,
my guess is
so it's read some article somewhere that's argued that case,
or something similar enough that it can construct a proxy. Like my guess is, if you interviewed 100 people on the street, you would get some that would tell you yes, it is legit to use, and others would say it's not. So the core thing, the one thing we can know for sure with AI anything, is there is not a human on the other side of it. Or if the human is too far away, people won't like it. And we know this because during the pandemic, everybody had the opportunity to have a high definition, incredible, lovely simulated go outside and play experience with their VR headset, or they could have a very low fidelity, low definition conversation with another human over Zoom. Which did people engage in?
Yeah.
We all want other humans. All humans ever want is other humans. That is fundamental and will never change.
Agreed. And I think that's where it goes back to, like, how do we use it as a tool that humans control, and in what ways? 'Cause here's the thing that, like, I do see it as extraordinarily amazing. I almost see it in the same realms of understanding the atom. We have created MRI machines because of understanding the atom. We have created, so much modern medicine. We can do amazing things other than just create nuclear bombs, but we've also created nuclear bombs with it. And when you kind of go through that sliding scale of good to bad, when we are looking at this, I do think it could literally cause wars, and I'm sure it'll be very much used in the next elections. That's a whole nother story. But I just see it as like this thing is insanely dangerous. It's like the nuclear bomb is being developed right in front of us.
Yeah, there's an excellent series from Longview called The Last Invention that gives a really interesting nuanced look into the positive and negatives of how we got here.
And I do 100% believe that there are extraordinarily positive and negatives. I think the interesting thing about the state that we're in is that the people that are pushing the progress are private companies, which of course that's where it would have come from. We're past the days of governments other than maybe China, but we're really past the days of America as a government pushing this type of innovation. Those days are gone for us. Maybe it'll come back. I don't think so. This doesn't feel like a federally funded thing. So as I'm just looking at it, I'm just like I can tell you my kids, and I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old, and they have such an instinctive disdain for it. They despise it. They hate everything about it. When it comes, like, they're like, "Dad, quit using it." And I'm like, and I use it a lot. But I just, this is going to have to be its own episode, but I feel like it has such amazing power. But man, I plead that people step up to the table and start creating some rules by which it can and cannot be used. Use it to unfold proteins. They've never been able to do that before very quickly. AI can now unfold proteins when they're doing medical studies, and it can do it amazingly rapidly, which means they can go through thousands of scenarios for testing proteins, get into this concept of individual medicine, which they've never been able to do before because they haven't had the technology. Now they're almost at the cutting edge of going, I can study your genetics and I can create a medicine based off your proteins and how they fold to where this medicine is unique to Brian and it will serve you well. That is good. We need that for AI. Using AI as a political weapon is terrible. We need rules against
that. I agree with that completely about the proteins, et cetera. I will subject this for your scrutiny. My observation has been currently AI is most valuable when you can aim it at a closed system. A closed system, a system where all information is available and the rules are clearly known. Physics, like engineering. The world of physics and load bearing and tensile strengths and all these things. Yeah. It's a fact-based thing. It's a closed system. Mathematics is a closed system. Engineering is a closed system. Proteins and what can be done with the periodic table of the elements and things that can be combined and cannot be combined because it all comes down to electronic or electron parking spots in orbits. And I'm going, okay, cool. AI, when it has a closed system with absolute known rules and boundaries, is miraculous. But whenever you give it something that is subjective, that is about human perception, and there's nothing that's more human. See, remember, the rational, logical, sequential, deductive reasoning left hemisphere of our brains, according to Dr. Roger Sperry, who won the Nobel Prize for that in 1981. Okay? We know this. That side of your brain, yeah, an AI can duplicate. But the pattern recognition side, the things that see connectedness and then see what is connected and how it's connected, because it's not directly connected. See what I mean? It's like a human being perceives the art of that connection, the symbolism of that language, or the double entendre in a sentence. And I'm saying, so those subjective things where there are not hard and fast rules, there are no formulas, there are no templates. It is right hemisphere of the brain, perceptions. AI doesn't have perceptions. It has studying huge amounts of information and then extracting from that what to do. And I'm going, yeah, but you can't explain to a computer what causes human emotions. So it can recognize a person who is acting emotionally, but it doesn't know what emotion is, and it doesn't know what love actually is. So there's certain perceptions that humans have that I don't know if computers will ever actually have legitimate perceptions, what we're going to call actual awareness, consciousness. And I'm saying there's the things that rely on consciousness and perception, okay? Which is why I say, no. I challenge the idea that in 5 years, that, will AI be able to, right now, AI can write paragraphs that sound like the way that Hemingway wrote or the way that Steinbeck wrote. So they can capture the word usage and the sentence structure and the kind of language they tended to use. Yeah, that sounds like them. But does it say what they would have said? Does it make the point they would have made? Does it move you? And I'm saying that's what AI cannot do.
Right.
And I don't know if it will.
And for me,
Yeah.
the math is simple. Is there an actual human on the other end? If no, person will not care.
Well,
And
true.
regardless of the level of polish or
here's what-
uncanny valley.
I agree with you, and I agree with you, but I also am just going to submit that if I'm a corporate asshole, I will choose what makes me more money.
Short term until there's a backlash.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead, use Papyrus. It's a great font.
I agree.
There'll be no downside.
No, I agree. But they will do it. They will do it. So, and that'll be the sad part.
Well, and the worst part is culturally.
Can I say corporate asshole? Can I-
Yeah, so you have the blue cup.
All right.
It's like,
uh,
I'm not going to drink out of it. That's the asshole cup.
All right. Give the final thought on this, and obviously, Alex, this will be an episode all unto itself once we got into the rabbit hole of AI.
Yeah, it went places.
I might watch this one on my own. I don't know if it'll go out, but I do think we're saying important things.
But does anybody care?
I think they may care too much.
Was there a question in there, boss?
Final thoughts on AI.
On AI? I'm only in the AI game for one major aspect. Look, every time there's a new technology, all the rules change. The meta, they call it, right? In Pokemon, they introduce a new card, changes the whole game. Now, technically, you're playing the same game you always played, but the weather has changed. There's a new card that changes the meta of the game. The meta's changed in storytelling. Now, where the sliding dials are in terms of what's inbounds, out of bounds, what's cheap, what's easy, what's hard, what's brave, what's cowardly, all of those are changing. And I ain't here to tell you which one's going to win out, but I know that we've seen versions of this before. And I do know that other humans get more and more sophisticated. And so in general, you want to pay attention to the weather. And if it feels real easy, think about what kind of permanent tattoo you're getting, because nobody knew they were screwing up when they were using papyrus on the side of that
Yeah,
bank.
that's a good point. Yeah. Well, I've read the book Dune, and I know we win in the end and we get smarter, right? So to wrap up storytelling, attention, and money, I've got 3 fun questions that are both for you each. All right. So in other words, I'm going to ask you each the same question, and we'll go rapid fire, and then I'll ask you to expand. So question number 1, who do you think is the world's best author?
Oh, Stephen King.
Stephen King. Who do you think is the world's best author?
Living or dead?
Either or.
John Steinbeck.
John Steinbeck. All right. Who is your favorite author? Not who do you think is the world's best, but who is actually your favorite?
Maybe at the moment, Neil Stephenson. He's proven very impressive with his futurism.
Okay.
I got to go with Neil Stephenson too.
Wonderful. And then last question is, what is the greatest book of all time?
Oh, jeepers. I'll go second on this one.
Greatest book of all time? Boy, we have to narrow that down. See, if you're going to go in history, it's actually Don Quixote, okay, because of the impact that it had. But if you're saying, which one do I just like reading the most often?
Sure.
Strangely, this is the dumbest answer a person could give. It just happens to be true. It's Travels with Charlie by John Steinbeck.
Travels with Charlie by John Steinbeck. All right.
Man, I'd hate to give such a cheap answer, but man, I've lost count of the number of laps that I've taken through Stephen King's Dark Tower series. The Wheel of Caw
Would you
keeps
say,
turning.
what book have you read more often than any other book? For me, it's Travels with Charlie.
Yeah, it's probably, I hope for eventually it to be Stephen King's On Writing. I just accidentally, I was looking for one passage, ended up reading the whole thing again.
All right, so we're actually going to camp here for just a second. I said fun questions, but I figured it'd be John Steinbeck.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was going to be Stephen King. I kind of thought it's also Stephen King for me, and we've had conversations about this.
Yeah.
So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask you to think about Stephen King, and I want you to think about John Steinbeck.
Right.
And
I take it back.
Okay.
The best book is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
I've not read that one.
It's fantastic.
All
It's
right.
the most important book.
War of Art. Okay, War of Art. I got it captured. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to the book you constantly read, right? You're still reading Stephen King all the time.
Sure.
He's up there. What is one of the techniques that John Steinbeck uses, or one of the techniques that Stephen King uses, that is part of what I think you think their superpower is? I know specifically a technique that Stephen King uses for me that I feel like is his superpower, which annoyed the hell out of me until
I bet I
experienced it
can
in real life.
I mean, the superpower is that he understands that questions are better than answers, and that you
Okay.
want that glamorous shadow to ruminate and fixate upon and wonder what's just behind that curtain. Stephen King does that very, very well, to the detriment of the ends of many of his books.
Because he
But
doesn't
yes,
land them all very well.
Not always.
Not always. What's John Steinbeck's superpower?
He can tell wonderful, amazing, fantastic, tiny little stories within a much, much bigger story. And it's all the tiny little stories that give it the texture and the depth and the richness. And then when you see how this tiny little story here comes back 3 generations later in this epic novel of Grapes of Wrath to become an important thing back here. And it's a tiny little nugget. And 2 or 3 tiny little nugget stories that were kind of involved that you just thought were just little asides.
Mm.
We're talking about Neil Stephenson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Neil Stephenson does it also, just like Steinbeck. So the guy on Cryptonomicon,
Mm-hmm.
the guy's on the boat. I'll think of his name in a minute. And he's by himself. He's out on the ocean, and he's eating breakfast. He says, "World-class cereal eating is a dance of fine compromises. The giant heaping bowl of sodden cereal awash in milk is the mark of a novice. Ideally, one wants to put the bone-dry cereal nuggets and cryogenic milk into the mouth. It's working small increments. You want to put it into the mouth so that they come together in the mouth. Because in the case of Captain Crunch, if you put too much cereal in the bowl, it will turn into a pit of loathsome slime." And then he goes on, and then so he dips the spoon in with one hand while pouring the milk with the other, not wanting to waste a single moment of that magical golden time when cold milk and Captain Crunch are together, but have not begun to pollute each other's essential natures.
Yes.
And so he's just talking about
right.
eating a bowl of cereal, and
That's
he's going, "Oh yeah, the pit of loathsome slime. When you put too much cereal in the bowl, it sits there too long, and you're having all these experiences,
He's
and
right.
and it's not even moving the story forward. It's just a little paragraph about eating cereal on the boat. And see, Steinbeck does that. Neil Stephenson does that. These little self-contained nuggets are just fantastic. And when you write ads and you're trying to create a campaign, so you'd have this huge narrative arc over months and years, but it's told in little 30-second and 60-second bites.
Mhm.
It was only when you asked the question, why do you like him? It only hit me for the first time. My God, because he's writing little 30-second and 60-second snippets and putting them together that become this epic, epic tale of 800 pages. And all those stories connect together. It's literally a metaphor of an ad campaign. Neil Stephenson does it. John Steinbeck does it. I'm 67 years old. I only just realized why I love those authors.
Well, good. I'm glad we got that. Here's the technique that King uses, and it's always annoyed me let me rephrase that. When I first read his books, it annoyed me, and now I just get it. It's that anytime he introduces the subject of magic, that along this path of magic, these characters have these amazing experiences, and always towards the end, something happens that takes them away from the magic. The children come out of the sewers. If you've read the book, they did some things in the sewers, but they come out of the sewers. In the Dark Tower, Roland actually starts over from the beginning.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't, what are you doing?
Oh,
You're just gonna start. Anyway, I love that movie where Rosebud's a sled and Charles Foster Kane is only truly happy as a child. What a twist that was at the end.
Hey.
You better bleep half of the stuff that just happened on this.
Hey, those books have been out a long
He literally has a chapter where he warns the reader to not continue reading because the ending is so precious. They have to make the conscious decision, and only a real piece of work would foist the answer upon.
We don't like you anymore.
Spoiler warning, delayed. But what he does, and don't forget, it'll work out. It'll be fine. They'll remember this later, and it'll be even more impactful, is that the character starts fading away the memory from all the magical things. And by the time you get to the end of the book, the character has almost forgotten everything other than a sense of a nagging feeling.
Yeah, but isn't that how it goes in real life?
It is, because the second time, after many years of going through the Dark Towers, I'm going back through it, and I'm starting to live the dream. And by the way, I had this whole conversation with one of my friends who's a movie writer, creator, fellow friend of our producer, Alex, Julia Tracy. I'm like, he does this in every book. The character always forgets. I had forgotten the ending all the way to the end of the Dark Tower. And when I went back through it a second time, it hit me. It's like I had a whole nother life experience, and I found myself going, it isn't a cheap trick. We actually do this.
Mm-hmm.
We forget the magical moments.
And we love to be reminded of them.
Yes. So for me, that was like, after me reading many of his books and going back to the Dark Tower the second time, now when I pick up Fairy Tale or The Black House or whatever it is, and I'm like, all of these magic moments I forgot and I'm reliving them again. It's beautiful. So that for me, I appreciate that Stephen King realized something very early in his writing that most young men wouldn't learn that lesson until they were probably his age now.
Mm-hmm.
And he learned it young. And I go, he's extraordinarily insightful. I really believe he's one of those writers that actually is writing other people's stories. He's just channeling, like really just channeling characters. That's why I love the guy.
Something Wicked This Way Cometh.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys read it?
Is that
a Stephen
the
King
Disney movie?
No, it's a Stephen
Oh,
King.
no. Something Wicked This Way Comes is wait, isn't that Roald Dahl or Jeepers?
Somebody gave it to me, and I could have sworn it was Stephen King.
I don't know. I'll look it up.
No. Ray Bradbury. That's Ray Bradbury. Something
Is it?
Wicked This Way Comes.
Huh.
I'm almost certain. Now I have to.
Well, you might be right. Somebody gave me a Stephen King book to read.
Ooh, which one?
I thought it was Something Wicked This Way Comes. Or it sounded like that. It's a book that has a title like that.
Yeah, because you're famously either not a King fan or haven't read any of his books, right?
No. What I'm saying is stories that go into supernatural things in dark places. See, my personality type, it's 1.5% of the population. We're told never to do role-playing games because we will get lost in the game.
Oh, everyone.
And so what I'm saying is no. What I'm saying is anytime as having an introverted ITNP, that's the thing that doesn't have a great hold on reality to begin with. And so we can get so lost in fiction. And so I have to be crazy, crazy careful about not turning myself into any kind of a dark fiction because I can go in there and never get back out.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it's self-preservation for me.
Then let's make a recommendation. There are many books of his that aren't necessarily dark. There's a few that are pretty like awesome. I think Fairy Tale would be a great starting book.
I don't think I've read that one, but Hearts in Atlantis I think is a fine self-contained dream-like story.
Yeah.
Okay. What's it called?
Hearts in Atlantis. It's a collection of 4 novellas.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
See, I think I respect him as a writer. I respect him as a human being, very much so. There's a lot of times you meet a writer and they're kind of a jerk in real life, but Stephen King, I think, is actually a pretty solid guy in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. He. We'll wrap this up, but I feel like he's a magician on the page. He does something every time I read it. So thanks, guys, for this episode. This was great.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for part 3 of 4 with Brian Brushwood and Roy H. Williams. If this conversation made you pause, good. That's what it's meant to do, because technology is changing fast. But creativity, trust, and connection still come from the same place, us. Now, next time in our final conversation, we're going to wrap up this 4-part series by going back to the roots, the stories and the authors that shape how we see the world and what they still teach us about persuasion and purpose. I'll see you there.
You've been listening to Turbocharged Todd Liles and the Wizard of Ads, where the bold win and the remarkable reign. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a conversation. If you want a copy of the show notes or watch the ads from today's show, head over to toddliles.com/wizard. This episode is dedicated to the business owners who refuse to be ordinary.